Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shantanu Pachara, and I'm an assistant professor at Manipal University, Jaipur, and your fellow scholar. Before I take the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, please allow me to express gratitude to respected Professor Shobhalata Utapudi and the entire team of Gujarat National Law University for conducting this enriching online coursework program. So it is with deep pride and humility that I introduce the keynote speaker of this first session of PhD Coursework 2020, an individual who has effected a change in the paradigm of legal education in India and a renowned academician, respected Professor Dr. Rattan Singh. Dr. Rattan Singh pursued his education from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and is currently a professor of law at the University Institute of Legal Studies, Panjab University, Chandigarh, having over 25 years of teaching experience, and have also guided several PhD scholars in completion of their thesis. He is a strong proponent of the advancement of legal education throughout the Indian education system, as well as an expert of administrative law and research methodology. Aside from his talents and expertise, Dr. Rattan Singh is also a prestigious author of several papers and on the subject of administrative law, research methodology, and environment law. Some of his better titles that we might have read during our graduation or post-graduation includes Legal Research Methodology, published by LexisNexis, Law and Media, published by Allahabad Law Agencies, and few others. Dr. Rattan Singh has been consistently contributing towards academic excellence and development of the education system in India. He has successfully undertaken and completed several research projects with the University Branch Commission, New Delhi, and have presented more than 60 papers in national and international conferences during his academic journey so far, and have also chaired numerous seminars. Furthermore, he has delivered more than 40 invited and special lectures and keynote addresses at some of the premier law institutes and universities of India, such as the Indian Law Institute, New Delhi, RJNLU, Patiala, MNLU, Mumbai, and few others. It is pertinent to mention that Dr. Rattan Singh is also a member of few of the paramount selection committees of various state commissions in India, such as the Public Commission of Madhya Pradesh, Public Commission of Manipur, University Grant Commission New Delhi, and few more. On a final note, he is also a fascinating individual, and we are grateful for his presence among us today. In today's session, he will be enlightening us on the topic Overview of Legal Research. So without further ado, and with immense pleasure, I welcome Professor Dr. Rattan Singh. And over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shantanu, and my respected senior colleague, Professor Shobhalata, and Vardi Vice Chancellor, Professor Shanta ji. It is a great interaction with the Gujarat National University scholars, those who are pursuing PhD, or maybe those who are in the research field. As my little experience of research is concerned, probably this is my second interaction with the Gujarat National University, because the Vardi Vice Chancellor has given me another opportunity wherein I visited this institute and stayed about 2 days, and they interacted with the students over the research. No, not taking much of the time over the other things, let's come to the point, and the task which is given to me, that's about to look after and to talk something about the overall and overview of the research methodology, legal research methodology. Friends, we all know that you are entering into PhD. Quite possible some of the fellows, students, researchers, they may have submitted their research proposals, synopsis. Quite possible some of the researchers may be at the verge of the submission of the PhD. But many times the question arises that when we are pursuing PhD and once we complete PhD, we get the degree of PhD also, still we are unable to understand that how we have done PhD. What are the techniques required for the PhD, have we followed the techniques or not? I've got many chances to visit many of the universities and to interact with the many researchers. And I used to ask different questions with reference to the methodology they have followed. Sometimes I used to ask about research design. I used to ask about the hypothesis. I used to ask about research questions. Even though while moving with the methodology, I used to ask about the sampling techniques, how the sampling is to be collected, what is universe, what is sample, how the sample is to be taken. So what I feel, I may be wrong, but what I feel is the students, they are not skillfully trained. Because until and unless we are not skillfully trained, it will be difficult for us to collect the data, tabulate the data, and present the data. And until we are not in a position, probably our PhD or research project, whatever we are doing, that cannot speak in itself. So in order to complete the search project, PhD, or whatever the document we have, we need to follow whatever the required techniques. And we need to understand what these techniques are. We need to understand the parameters of a research methodology. So before I proceed further, in order to define about exactly what is the true purpose, what is the true objective of research, what are the different kinds of research. Once I move, and I always share with the students like about 8 to 9 points from where we are to start our research and where the research is to end up, taking just about 10 minutes. So friends, whenever we are to opt for, to find a research topic, and we all understand, we approach to our supervisor, and most of us are dependent on the supervisor. Sir, I'm qualified by JRF, qualified by UGC, I'm qualified by test, and I want to start my research with you. Please suggest me a topic. And generally, we are dependent on the supervisor. You please give us some topic so that we can start the research. And certainly the supervisor sometimes can suggest you, sometimes the supervisor may say, no, just go and have look after different topics, different fields. Either you are interested in constitutional law, criminal law, or revenue law, whatever the laws are. You just try to build up your broad perception. And after building up the broad perception, come out with 3, 4, 5 issues which we can discuss for the purpose of your doctorate. And certainly, the candidate, he moves back and spend about 10 days, 5 days, and quickly again come back to the supervisor that these are the 5 topics which I've selected. And what I feel is that most of the time the student, they sit on that and then accordingly find out your maybe Shodh Ganga, maybe some other different sources, and try to lay down exact title of this and feel like that I should work over this. But this is not so. Because what I feel is that whenever you are to conduct any of the research and you want to find out a topic, and the topic is not of the interest of your supervisor, rather the topic should be of your own interest. Your own interest as far as your field, subject field is concerned. Take about 3, 4, 5 months. Take about 3 months to find out exact topic. Try to find out the literature. Try to read the literature as much as you can. Then try to structure the topic. And the topic is not a factual statement. Topic is, it must speak in itself that what the topic is for the research. Topic must speak its objectives, its character, its color, its creed, its nature. That should be the real topic. And when you find out a topic, so that if for example topic is given, I'm reading the topic, and just on the basis of the reading of the topic, I can find out, yes, this topic demands such type of research. This topic is a perception of so and so issue. The first thing is you need to find out a topic, and please you must take sufficient time. Don't be hurry that you have qualified the JRF, you want to enroll as soon as possible so that your stipend should start. Because if you will do hurry, and ultimately at the end of 1 year or maybe 2 year, you will be again in trouble that yes, I have chosen a wrong topic. And then after 1 year or maybe 2 years, then you will not be in a position to come out of this topic. You have to complete because you have already spent about 2 years over this. So whenever you are to choose a topic, be specific, be concentrated, be a person spending about 3 to 4 months in order to find out the topic. And I always say, once the topic is complete, once you have identified the problem of research, it means half of your PhD is done. This is the most important task. So once you have fixed up a topic, you have decided a topic, you have laid on a rough sketch in your mind, then you need to develop a synopsis. And how you need to develop a synopsis? The first you need to find out the historical background. If I'm talking something about an issue of RTI or issue of about your secularism with reference to Sabrimala, for example, I have to find out about the historical background. If I'm talking about secularism, if I'm talking about socialism, I have to find out its historical background. Because unless you are not aware about the history of a specified law over which you are working on RTI and you are not aware about that what is this historical development from where it has started. So give much time to find out its history. And once you jot down the history, then come to your problem profile now. In the problem, what you want to talk about, what your problem profile speaks, then accordingly you need to write down about your problem profile. Now, you have find out historical development, you have identified the problem profile. Now, after identification of the problem profile, you need to find out what research has already been conducted over this topic. How many books, how many articles, how many uh, issues has been discussed already. How many scholars has contributed over the same field? How many books? How many research papers? Right? What is encyclopedia over this topic? And you have to study all these things. At least not all, at least the major of the publication you need to find out. Go ahead with the 30 books, 40 books, 60 books. And then, no, it will be again a very tricky question that once we are reviewing the literature, and while reviewing the literature, if I say I need to review about 50 books, I need to review about 50 articles. So it means I will take about 3 years only while reviewing this, then how and when I will conduct my research. No, review does not mean that you have to spend the whole of time for the review of the books. It does not mean that if the book is of 700 pages, then you have to read the whole 700 pages. At least the microscopic aspect over which you are going for your research, at least if one book having about 800 pages and your topic, it speaks over in just one chapter, maybe just 2 pages of that book, you need to read these 2 pages. You need to read about one chapter, and then accordingly about as many as books you can, as many as research paper you can, and then try to find out then that what is lacking in this existing literature, which you can fill up the gap. You have to find out research gap. So until and unless you don't fill up the research gap, probably our purpose will not be served. So you have to identify, this is my proposition and this is the research already has been done over this topic, and what I feel over this issue, this aspect has not been covered by all the scholars. This is the research gap. After review of the literature, I need to find out research gap. So until and unless you don't find the research gap, I think you will move as a sailor without a compass in the sea. You need to, you have to. And once you find out a research gap, now you have to be very clear what are your objectives. While laying down the objectives, certainly one of your objectives maybe that you are to compare the Indian law with another countries. It may be a comparative studies, one of the objective. You want to evaluate the historical development of your proposition. This is another objective. You want to find out jurisprudential norms over this issue over which you are to conduct a research. That is another objective. You want to conduct an empirical study, socio-economic, socio-political, socio-legal analysis. This may be your empirical study. So it means as many as chapters you want to frame, like 6 chapters, 7 chapters, you need to find out at least 7 objectives. These are my objectives. Each objective must be fixed for each chapter. You need to lay down the objectives. These are my 6-7 objectives. But please don't make a bundle of objectives. Because once we will make a bundle of objectives, I know once you are conducting the review of literature and you will find out a lot of issues. You will find out different parameters. You will find out different colors of your proposition. And you may say, I have a bundle of objectives to complete. No, you will be lost somewhere then. You have to be very pinpointed that you need to be very microscopic and you need to have just only these 6, 7, 8 objectives and then accordingly proceed ahead. Now, laying down the objectives, which I say at least each chapter should speak for a one objective. Then you have to find out research questions. What are the research questions in your mind? Research question is not a questionnaire. Research questionnaire is a questionnaire or technique or an instrument to collect the data. That's something different. When we talk about research questions, it means what are the research questions in your mind for which you are trying to find out an answer. You may have a research question, you may have a second question, third question, fourth questions. And these research questions are very similar and very near to your objectives. These research questions should not be away from your objective. They should be very, very near to objectives and research questions. Now, when you have laid down the research questions, very clear. Now, over your proposition, you need to lay down a tentative statement. And tentative statement is you have to construct a hypothesis. Until the hypothesis is not constructed, you suppose, you give your own proposition, then what do you think over the topic which you have taken up? It may be empirical study, it may be doctoral study, but you have some proposition in your mind that what do you want to do? So many times I have seen while laying down the hypothesis, many of the students, they start giving the suggestions in the hypothesis. Hypothesis is just a tentative statement on the topic on which you are working and what you feel over this topic. If you don't have a hypothesis, and it means you cannot move further. You have a perception in your mind over this, and in order to prove that perception or to disprove that perception, you move further. You move further for empirical study or you move further for doctrinal study. Here, let me make you very clear that even nowadays in legal research methodology, there are many schools which are working. Now, one of the school, they believe that for doctrinal study, there is no need to construct a hypothesis. Hypothesis is required only for empirical study, because only by empirical study we can collect the data, and after collection of the data, we are to verify, we are to confirm this data, we are to prove or to disprove. So it means that these two schools believe, one believe that no need for hypothesis for doctrinal study, but hypothesis is required only in empirical study. But on the other side, there is another thought process, and I'm also a student of that thought. But I feel either it's a doctrinal research or it's empirical research, you need to construct a hypothesis. Because even for the doctrinal research, for any of the perception, like for example, I'm talking about doctrinal study as far as basic structure of constitution. Now, as far as the basic structure of constitution is concerned, we all understand the different judgments different jurisprudence norms we have in order to determine what the basic structure of constitution. But still, we do not have a defined, confined, imprisoned definition. It's a variable concept. When the concept of basic structure was introduced, right in Keshwan and Bharti's case, and later on till today, probably its character has been changed now. Its dimension has been changed now. And even on the basic structure, which is a doctrinal study, in order to determine, in order to define, explore that doctrine, certainly I can also build up a hypothesis over this doctrine. So, hypothesis is to be laid on. Either it's a doctrinal research or it's empirical research, but it should be a tentative statement, your own observation. It should be a factual position as you believe into. It should not be a suggestion. And I believe that this should be very precise, very concise in 3, 4, 5 sentences only. Because as detailed hypothesis you will construct, then probably you have to, the topic will be elaborated too much. You will lost in between. Sometime I have seen many of the young scholars, they lay down the hypothesis number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I think it is very difficult. One precise presumption of yours will take you towards a very microscopic research, and always a microscopic, which is to the point. This is always a good research. So while laying down the hypothesis, then you have to go another point, that's about your methodology. No, methodology is to be very in detail, because you have to be very clear that what type of methodology you are following. You have to enter your research that it's a doctoral research or empirical research. If it's doctoral research, the nature of my study is like so and so. It's exploratory research. It's a descriptive research. It's a historical research. It's analytical research. What you will do in analytical research, descriptive research, exploratory research? Certainly, you have to lay down that these are my resources. These are my sources on the basis of which I try to conclude, I try to develop my research. But if this is empirical research, then again you have to very clear that what type of the data you want to collect, whether you want to take a sample, whether you want to take a survey method, case study method, what type of method you want. So you have to be very clear what is your universe, what is your sample, how to take the sample from the universe. Because reason being, I've seen a topic for or a dissertation or maybe the PhD thesis came before me. This and this study is study with special reference to state of Gujarat. Now the question is, if this is the state of Gujarat, the Gujarat state, your respondents, your subject matter are scattered in whole of the Gujarat. Now, how you will find out your subject matter? How you will find out the respondents? So it means you have to make Gujarat as your universe. Again, you need to bifurcate Gujarat into different classes. And on the basis of your requirement, as your data must be representable data, you need to find out a sample. How much sample is required? It all depends on your the topic which you have taken up. What are your subject matter? Who are your respondents? So certainly you need to have a long discussion with your supervisor. You need to have a long discussion with your pilot samples. And then after having a long discussion with the pilot sample, with the supervisor, with yourself, with the next of your friends, then you need to find out a sample and try to conduct a pilot study over the sample, on the sample which you have taken. Or maybe you have prepared a questionnaire, you may have a case law, you may have an observatory method, you may have a survey method, whatever it is. But you need to take a sample, and over that sample, you need to conduct a pilot sampling. Now, test your pilot sampling. Now, if on the basis of the observation which you have got from this pilot sampling, then you need to see whether should I require to change my subject, should I require to change my question, should I require to change my schedule, then accordingly repair your tool by which you are to collect the data. If you feel my pilot study is okay, I'm getting very good response, my all the questions are good, my all the questions are not touching to anybody's faith. If you are 100% okay, then go ahead with this. But still, if the pilot study speaks something that your questionnaire, your schedule, your whatever the tool you have taken up, if this is really affecting one's interest, adversely affecting one's lifestyle, so probably you need to repair your questions. And once you have repaired and you are 100% right, then accordingly, if you feel you need to or reconduct the pilot, you can also. But methodology, in your methodology, you should be very clear that this is my empirical study, this is my universe, this is my sample. I will take this method for sampling, and again I may have a lottery system, I may have a bucket system, I may have a random sampling. There are hundreds and hundred ways also, and accordingly take a sample. Now, once the sample is taken, again in the methodology, you need to take that by which methodology I will represent the data. How you will interpret, by which technique you will interpret, and how you will tabulate. Everything is to be referred in the methodology. Now, why there is a need to refer into the methodology? Because once a sketch, a blueprint, a design will be in your hand, then whenever you are collecting the data, whenever you are interacting, when you are proceeding for your further research, you need not to ask to your next friend again and again and again. You should have these 10-15 pages with you, which is your research design. This blueprint must be in your pocket. Whenever you feel like, no, what is my next step? This is your next step. Whatever you have suggested for your conducting of your collection of your data, this is the step, this is the tool which I have decided. Now, this tool, over which this tool is to be applied, this is the mechanism over which I am to apply this tool. So it means your research methodology part should be so much speaking, so much detail, so later on you should not be in the problem. Now the question is, whatever the steps which we have taken, right from your historical background, then identification of problem, then review of literature, research gap, objective questions, then you have your hypothesis, methodology. Okay, this is blueprint which I prepared along with the supervisor, and this is submitted for my approval of the synopsis. And once this is approved, now sometimes the question comes into, is this final? Can I change something? Because reason being, the topic which I have taken at the time, its position was different. Now in between my research, the law has been changed. The new judgment of the Supreme Court has come into. The new authorities has come into. The new proposition things has come into. The society's the mindset has been changed in between 2 years. Now, can I change a bit into my synopsis, or it's just a hard and fast rule that I cannot change? I have to be very strict. I have to very particular. I have to very strict and principally follow that principle, that research design which I have taken up. No. Again, it's just these are some guidelines to you that you have to construct your theory, you have to construct your thesis research within these parameters. But these parameters are not something which is imprisoned in the words. These parameters are not imprisoned in the language. And if you in between you feel like, at the time I thought of my hypothesis like this, now situation has been changed, but I feel there is requirement of little change into my this hypothesis. Yes, you can, but this must come in the knowledge of the competent authorities. So if you will, in sequence, if you will follow all these points, then I suppose your research or your task which you're doing, probably that will be the beautiful task. And ultimately, at the end of your 3 year, 4 year, you will definitely produce a good piece of research. And that is only the things, these things are required. Being a student of law, being a student of research, what I feel is that these things are required. Now, friends, this is just an introductory part for this. Now, the task which is given to me to need to discuss some overview about the research. And we all know that when we talk about research methodology, when we talk about research, and being a social scientist, being a student of law, we are not inventing something. We are not discovering something. We are just moving from the thread where my predecessor has left. This is just a relay race that A was rushing and he has completed his task, and now he has given the task to you. No, I'm rushing, I'm running, and I will give this man to third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one. So it's a continuous process. Research is a continuous process. So we never feel like the research is across this social science research. Social science research or the legal research is not something we are inventing something, we are discovering something. This is just a way of life. When I talk about research, is always a way of life. Because daily we do the research. Daily we, even if for example, I'm to buy a car, and I ask many questions to my next friends. I go to showroom, I ask to the people, those who are already having this car. If I want to admit my child into the school, I find out many schools in my town. I find out many people whose wards are studying in that school. And I have many questions in my mind. Even though I want to buy a book, I go to a bookshop, English bookshop. There are many books over this, maybe relating to life, relating to psyche, relating to society. But out of many books, what I feel is that I want to take one of the best, which is most selling book. Meaning thereby, why I ask the questions? To find out an answer, to find out a good school, to find out a good car, to find out a good book. That is the reason only I always ask many questions. I interview my friends just to take the knowledge. I read magazines, I read newspapers, I listen to television, I listen radio, I find out something from the encyclopedia, I explore many information from the net, from the library. Then ultimately I try to probe for the facts, maybe in the empirical world. I probe the facts in the empirical world that I want to buy a car, that which car is most running on the roads, which car is most economical for me. I try to probe the facts. So maybe I say this car is most important, and then I try to confirm from an ex friend also. So research is a way of life, right from even from our childhood till we get the job and even after retirement. This is a continuous process. We always strive for good things, for new things, which are beneficial to me, for reaching good conclusions. And research is what? We take up a topic and we try to find out what is exact at the bottom. Similarly, this is the research also. So I always say the research is a process to find out something which is there in existence, but we are not known to that. Something is in existence, but we presume, yes, this is in existence. We believe this is in existence. But we do not have a theory over this. We do not have a factual situation over this. Now, for instance, uh, if I give a proposition, and my proposition, which we all believe, that we have many national law universities, which are very, very prominent national law universities. And for example, I pick one A national law university, and I believe, yes, A national law university is one of the best national law universities. But why? This is my hypothesis. I say A is one of the best national university. But why this is so? This is my hypothesis. So how to prove this hypothesis? This is in existence. Everybody see. It will be A, B, C, D. To whom so I ask, they say A is the one of the national university. But why this is so? I have heard from many people this is the best. But what factual position I have? I don't have a factual position. Then in order to try to find out why A is the best university, I move further. I try to make a plan whether A is good, A university is good for placement, whether A university is good for traditional litigation, whether A university is good for commercial litigation, whether A is good for corporate sector, whether A is good for as far as international law is concerned. Why? Then on the basis of the parameters, I find out that this is the reason. So it means the things we know, this is moving in the society. This is in existence, but we are not known. We are not aware about this. And to find out the true position is research. And this further lead us to the growth of an inquisitive mind of a researcher. We have an inquisitive mind. And inquisitive mind to find out some proposition for the society, to find out some proposition as far as law is concerned, to find out the true picture of one particular law. Now, recently, just see about Parliament has passed the legislation as far as the agriculture laws are concerned. And truly speaking, a lot of you has happened in Punjab and Haryana. What is the true story of this law is there? Everybody is fighting. Everybody is saying this law is bad. But question is why this is bad? This is my inquisitive mind. Then I need to conduct a study over this, all the agriculture laws, how it is affecting to farmers, how it is giving the benefit to the corporate sector. So, I mean, this is an inquisitive mind. Research is just to try to find out a solution, try to give a satisfaction to the inquisitive mind. And I say research is to see what everybody else has seen, but not to think what nobody else has thought. So it means we take the things in a such a way. So the process of research, I'm not talking about legal research, the process of research, it always lead us to find an answer about what, when, how, why, and many other questions to answer. It lead us to find out it's a technique to discover the truth. Because ultimately, when we conduct research, we follow many techniques, skillful techniques. When we follow skillful techniques, certainly we are trying to reach to the bottom to find out the truth. And we try to collect the evidences for the truth, for the information. And then we corroborate. This is the statement and this is the evidence. This is the statement and this is the condition. This is the statement, these are the facts and figures. This is the statics. And these statics are in corroboration with the statement, then probably we will be in a position. So it's very, very complex activity. Research is not a simple activity. As I told you, this is just a way of life, and we try to find out to purchase a book and have many questions. That is simple man's, a layman's, because a layman is also conducting research. A layman is conducting research by different ways. Even a sabji wala, he's while moving to the wholesale market, and he purchased the vegetables and then he sell this to the different street markets. So it means he needs to calculate that how much profit I will get. So again, his activity is a research also. But being a student of law, being a student of social sciences, being a student of academics, certainly this is a very complex activity. This is not a simple, because we have to be follow many disciplines. We have to follow many skills. We have to follow the parameters. We have to follow the methods, fixed methods as far as the research is concerned. Because even though it is an original contribution, and whenever we are contributing something, mean you have completed 5 kilometers, now it's my task to complete this in next 4.5 kilometers, or maybe 5.5 kilometers in the same period. The third is to say I'm to complete in less time and more number of kilometers. So it means this, everybody is contributing. So when we are to contribute into a field of research, certainly we have to be very skillful, we have to be very artistic, we have to design our research in such a way that at least we are to find in pursuit of a truth. When I'm talking about a student of a social sciences, certainly it may be sociology, economics, political science, they have different parameters. But legal research, I cannot say the legal research is something different from the social research. Task of the legal research is also the same. It is not different from other type of research. This legal research it too is this is research for to verify some hypothesis. Similarly, we conduct the research in social sciences to verify the hypothesis. Similarly, legal research is also a research which is conducted to verify the hypothesis. That's a different issue. That once we are talking about the legal research, we do talk about the issues of law relating to society. How law is regulating the society. How society is regulating the law, because it depends on both. Law is also changing the society and society is also changing the law. How we conduct inquiries about law, how we conduct the analysis on the rules, on the principles, on the legislations, on the policies, on the judgments, on the other legal system of other countries too also. Otherwise, for example, subject matter for a student of economics, it may be demand and supply. But subject matter for a student of law, it may be law and legislations. But ultimately, the task of both a student of economics and student of law is the same. So I say this legal research is carried on both for discovering new legal facts and verification of the old ones. Now, generally, very simple example generally I give to my students to verify old facts. Yes, just a few minutes before I said about basic structure of constitution. Yes, basic structure of the constitution cannot be changed. We all understand. This constitution can be amended, but its basic structure cannot be changed. But the question is, what is basic structure? And we all know in different judgments, they have laid on a basic structure. They have laid on about rule of law, principles of natural justice, secularism, socialism, and many more also. So that was a phase of about 10 years, a decade of 10 years, wherein the Supreme Court has laid on many dimensional, multi-dimensional judgments, and where they have fixed up this is the basic structure of constitution. But today, if, for example, an issue comes before that one particular issue is a basic structure of constitution or not. So we have to see this basic structure in the present scenario, in the present setup of the society, in the present setup of the constitutional interpretation. Because the constitution is something, it's not a static, it's living law. And once the constitution is living along with the society, its colors, its spirit is also moving. And if a task is given to me that I am to verify whether the meaning of basic structure is the same as was given in 1970, 72, 75, 78, or it's changed now. Certainly its color is changing, its character is changing, but spirit is the same. Spirit is the same, color, character, shade is changing also. So this is the task of the research to find out, to verify even the old facts also. To verify the old facts, for example, we are to talk about any proposition with reference to fundamental rights today. And we are to verify the proposition whether the fundamental rights, as far as our constitution is concerned, having the same spirit, having the same value as fundamental rights are given in America. We have to verify this. So certainly this legal research it established a causal connection between the various human beings. It gave a solution to the legal problem. And certainly it deals with the social and the legal behavior phenomena. And When we conduct a legal search, it gives the solutions to the legal problems. It deals with the social and the legal behavior of the society, of an individual too also. Now, why we go for conducting the legal search? We go for to gain the familiarity with the legal phenomena, to discover new facts, to test and verify old facts, to analyze the factual position with the new theoretical framework, to analyze the consequences of the new facts, to develop new tools of research, to develop new concept of research, to evaluate the law from the historical perspective. If I'm to see about what was the Government of India Act of 1935 and what was the system at the time as far as elections were concerned, and now in present scenario, if I'm to verify, if I'm to make a comparison, then I have to evaluate from the historical aspects. And the legal research teaches me to explain nature and scope of law. It predicts the consequences of the new law. For example, new law, I told you about agriculture law, many other also. It's an evaluation that what will be its consequences. Power as legal research empower us to interpret the law in a critical way, by which we can distinguish its weaknesses, its merits. If it will be applied on the society, then how society will positively and negatively will be affected. It give us a thought process by which we can analyze the effect of the new legal system on the law and the society. So maybe we have a social science research, and law is also one of the social science. So there is not much distinction. Yes, subject matter, proposition are different. Your scope is different, purpose is different, objective is different, but ultimately this is the same as other social sciences. No, moving ahead to, certainly we need to deliberate over this. There is a doctrinal research and there is a non-doctrinal research also, to whom we say, or empirical research. We all understand. Doctrinal research is just a table chair research. You need to sit in the library, you need to have different documents, you need to have different scholarly articles, or whatever document you have. You may have a historical study. You are conducting a historical study and you have about 20 documents which were passed right at the time of East India Company and the British India, and even before the commencement of Constitution. You have about 30, 40 documents, and you are conducting a study, is a comparative study. So doctrinal study, which is based on the documents, which is, you need to sit in the library, you need to sit on the chair. It's a table chair study. But once you have to go for empirical research, you need to go for the society in the empirical world. You need to conduct the research while observing, while watching, while moving in the society, while collecting the data, while direct interaction, by direct observation, by direct experience with you. So it's something conceptual and empirical. I mean, doctrinal is just a conceptual, which you can see by your eyes. Doctrine is just by eyes, but your empirical is your own experience. Not only eyes, but ears too also. You can see, you can observe, you can watch, you can express. It's something which is experiment. And nowadays, we always being earlier they used to say that the legal research cannot be, there is no need for conducting empirical research for the legal research for the law. But I say rather for the law, empirical research is most important. Whenever any of the legislation, when any judgment is passed, when a policy is passed, ultimately being a student of law, we are to go with the legislations only. We need to go for the honorable judgments of honorable courts also. We need to find out the jurisprudential norms. So how this judgment, how this rule, how this regulation, how this any principle laid on by the court, ultimately these are for the society. So how they are affecting to society? whether this is really serving the interest of the society, whether this is adversely affecting the society, whether this is helpful to lead the society or to up the society or to make the backward classes upward. So probably, I suppose this is only by way of empirical research. It will be possible for us, because doctoral research sitting on the table and having 2 documents, 3 documents, 4 documents, 10 documents, probably that will give you a doctoral research. You can produce a new document. You can give your own observation. You can lay down a principle on the basis of this. You can lay down a principle. But ultimately, the documents, the principles you have created by the doctoral research, I think these are to be applicable to the society. If the society is not having any purpose with this, if the society is not affected by such type of research, then I think there is no logic for conducting research. So that is why empirical research is most important as far as the student of law is concerned, or in the legal research is concerned, because it involves experiments in the legal research percent. It refers to the study of variables. It may be independent variable, dependent variable, control variables. And once it comes about the study of variables, certainly it really truly serves the interest of the society. And by empirical research, we observe the society, we observe the subject matter, we observe the respondents, and then try to find out the true objective, true spirit of law. And in once we conduct empirical research, and in some time empirical research is also which require experiment and which may not require experiment. Further I divide the empirical research in 2 parts. I say one is experimental, other is non-experimental. In non-experimental, no doubt researcher is collecting the data, but he's not interacting with the people. He's not interacting with the society or respondent. He is just having a questionnaire. He sent the questionnaire, and the questionnaire are filled. Now we all know there are many electronic gadgets by which you get the questionnaire filled, and then on the basis of the response you get in the questionnaire, you can construct your theory. No doubt this is empirical research, but this is non-experimental. In case of experimental, you see the person from eye to eye. You observe, you see the tears, you see the expression, you see the emotions, you observe the society. That is experimental research. So in empirical also, we have experimental and we have non-experimental. Experimental, when I interact, when I intervene, I intervene into the with the subject matter by observing the subject matter, that how adversely the poverty has affected, observing the subject matter, that how this that migratory labor has been affected during the COVID, interacting with them, living with them, eating with them, working with them. That is giving the true picture of the experimental research. And a non-experimental, we have different techniques, different tools to collect the data. Similarly, when we are talking about non-experimental, and I mean, the question is either this empirical, it's experimental, or it's a non-experimental. The true purpose, the true objective is to prove the relevancy by visiting the real world in the environment. That is why we need to conduct an empirical research. We need to conduct an empirical research because empirical method, it helps in integrating the research and practice. It really serves the true purpose, and it really make us to find out the deficiencies in the law. It really gave us the reasons for the non-enforcement of the legislation, why the particular legislation which is passed is not enforced. If this is enforced, why the interest of the particular society for whom this was passed not protected? What are the deficiencies? How this need to be amended? How this need to be changed? It will make us to get some suggestions so that we can give the suggestion to the competent authorities for modification, for changes. That is why empirical research is most important. It is the only way by which we can find out a response from the society, marginalized society, for whom the laws are passed, and how law is working for the society and how the society change with the law. That is only possible by the empirical research. And to find out whether the laws are really fulfilling the needs of the society for which they were formed, that is only the true spirit of the research. Now, leaving apart from this empirical research and doctrinal research, experimental research and non-experimental research, generally we divide the research on three parameters. Three parameters are on the basis of the application, on the basis of the objectives, and on the basis of the inquiry mode. Now, three parameters we divide, like as far as we classify on the mode of application mode, objective mode, and inquiry mode. Now, for example, application mode means when you conduct a research and the result of your research is applied then on the society. Your observations are applied on the society, and certainly it has got some relief, it has got some true consequences that will be applied. So it means applied mode is further divided into two parts, research and applied research. Objective mode is defined again in four parts, which is descriptive, exploratory, correlational, explanatory. Inquiry mode is further divided into two parts, qualitative and quantitative. So it means on three modes we are to define the research. We are to make the classification into the research. Now, as far as the application mode is concerned, I always say the first application mode is pure research. It's called as fundamental research. Meaning whereby this is a doctoral research, and while conducting a research, we laid on a principle. While conducting the research, a principle is laid on, and I say, okay, this is the fundamental, this is the principle, the parameters of this and this is to be decided according to this principle. Now, for example, I say, I was talking about the basic structure. Principle, these are the 10 points which falls into the scope of basic structure of Constitution. Basic structure doctrine consists of these 10 things. I further conducted research. I see not 10. Even this 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, these 5 more points are there as a part of basic structure doctrine. So basic structure doctrine is just not only the whatever the judges has said. Even I'm a student of law, I'm a student of political science, I'm a student of legislation, and I feel like these more points are to be added in. This is my pure research. So developing a scientific theory or a basic principle, this is a pure research or fundamental research. It is mainly concerned with the generalization and with the formulation of a theory. Means some theories to be laid. Like we have many theories as far as our constitution is concerned, as far as your criminal law is concerned, as far as environmental law is concerned, many theories are given. So theories are not something which has come from the legislature. These principles has not come from the legislature. Either these are given by good scholars by conducting research, or given by the judiciary, or given by other people, those who are involved into academias. That is a fundamental research. And when we say applied research, when the aim of applied research is to finding the solutions to the immediate problem which is faced by the society, and discovering the true problem, true issues, and giving the suggestions, and while applying the suggestion, and your problem is solved. That is applied research. We can apply our suggestions, we can apply our observations, and with the application of these observations, I say the problem will be solved. For example, as I told you earlier that there is some issues are going on as far as agricultural law is concerned. I conduct a study and I say if this law is to be applied by this way, then I suppose the farmers, they will lift their dharna. That is applied research. No. Then we have an objective mode of research. Now, in objective mode of research, we say descriptive research, which describe who, what, where, how, which described how this law, what this law, where this law, how this law. So these are, I'm using the word law, it may be anything. So when we talk about objective mode, it defines descriptive research, and in descriptive research, it generally used to describe the different characters of population, different characters of your subject matter. For example, you have taken up a subject matter as far as the crime under these circumstances. Crime, if the situation is this, then the crime rate increases. Why crime rate increases? Then you try to describe the circumstances. These are the circumstances. These are the conditions. These are the characters. These are the conditions which happen. So then according the crime rate will increase. Then it means this is a descriptive research. You describe the characters. Then it is descriptive research generally is undertaken to provide answer to questions like I told you, who, what, where, when, and like so and so. So it conduct for the problem that has not been clearly defined. So descriptive means describe something, and other is explanatory, which explain, which try to explain. So one is to describe the characters. This problem have this character, this problem have this character, this problem have this character. And when it explain that what are the reasons of this problem, how this problem has come into, it will be explanatory research. And quite possible there is a correlational research. When there are variables and independent variables, dependable variables, when independent variables, dependent variables have relation with each other, is correlation. Cause of increase in crime is dependent on the biological structure, geographical structure. Increase in the rate of crime is due to A reason, B reason, C reason. So there is correlational research. When one variable have relation with the other, when dependable variable have relation with the independent variables, that will be correlational research. And certainly we can define this qualitative research and quantitative research also. We understand as far as the qualitative research is concerned and the quantitative research is, because when we talk about qualitative, quality is to be measured. When data can be observed but not measured in qualitative, we can observe the color, we can see the smell, we can see, we can taste something, we can notice the texture, we can notice the beauty. That is the quality. And certainly in quantitative, when we deal with the numbers, when we deal with which can be measured, this much is population, this is the figure of the population, this is the volume, this is an area, this is the height, which is to be measured. So when my subject matter is to be measured, this will be quantitative. And when my subject matter is to be seen, to be observed, this will be a qualitative. No, there are different benefits of qualitative research and quantitative research. It is not just only quantitative research is good and qualitative is not so. Because when we go with the quantitative and we take the quantity in such a way where it is very difficult to come out with the true suggestions, and just a one small mistake in quantitative, just a one small mistake in making an analysis on the data will lead the whole of the research to waste. But in case of your qualitative, it's qualitative. It's not measured. The quality of the subject matter is very refined, very confined. So generally we prefer qualitative. But nowadays, quantitative, we always take the sample and it all depends on how much sample we have taken. If there is a larger sample, if you have taken a universe and I have not determined my sample, then probably in quantitative research, I will not be in a position to reach to my concluding remark. But in qualitative research, it's very easy for me to. So you can make a distinction in between qualitative and quantitative, and for the purpose of qualitative, different subject matter, for the quantitative, different subject matter, different pattern, different parameter we need to follow, because the subject matter for quantitative may be different. Quite possible this subject matter for qualitative is totally different. So there are many other forms of the research, but talking over much of the time, because there is one other issue which I need to talk with you, that right at the outset when I discussed that you need to follow about these 10-15 principles, sorry, about 10 principles, that first you need to start with this about identification of the title, historical background, so and so and so and so. But during the course of my little experience in research, what I feel that many of the scholars, they commit some mistakes. Not mistake, I say, these are common errors. Even I do. Even I, while while guiding my students, we do also commit such type of mistakes. The first mistake, which what I feel is the first error, which I feel is in the research process is the problem which is taken by the student is too vague to develop a specific plan. Sometimes we give a statement on the title. The problem profile is too vague. We are not limiting the problem. We are not putting the bracket. So once we are not putting the bracket, then vague problem can lead us, can take us to the vague conclusions. And when vague conclusion, probably that is not fruitful research. Second, objectives not stated in measurable terms. Measurable terms, I told you earlier, that we need to lay down the objective like these are my 6 objectives. I'm to concentrate and I'm to complete my thesis, I'm to complete my research and to achieve these 6 objectives. I've seen one of the thesis for PhD came to me for evaluation, and I'm sorry, I won't take, without taking the name, 19 objectives has been laid down. And I just failed to understand that all these objectives, they were not having link with each other. The scope and character, the nature of one objective was moving to the other direction, and the second was moving to the third other direction. So this is also a common error which we, being a researcher, we commit. That whenever we lay down the objectives, these are not laid down in measurable terms. Only lay down the objectives which can be measured, which can be achieved, within this given time. And the next error which we commit is we neglect to review. Now, very interestingly, please, I give you an example, but don't follow that. One of my student, he came to me and say, how many books you have conducted? How many books you have conducted the review? And the first day he came, he said, I have conducted the review of 3 books. I said, very good. 3 books is really in 3-4 days is very good. I told you, you need not read the whole book. After 5 days, he came. I said, I'll conduct a review of about 35 books. I said, how come in just 10 days you are conducting a review of about 30 books? How it's possible? He said, this is very easy. How it's very easy? Sir, at the back of every book, this is written about the book. So once it is written about the book, it means the whole of the book contained in just one page. Read this page and your book review of book is okay. So that was a simple shortcut method he tried to follow. No. Once you have taken a topic, even though that book contains just one chapter of your relating to your topic, you read at least one chapter of maybe 20 pages, 50 pages, but must read that. Then go to the indexing part, that if anything else is also there as far as your proposition or problem identify which you have identified is contained in that indexing part. So we commit many errors in review of literature, because if we will not review the literature properly, then quite possible you have done your research and you have found, because reason being you have not conducted the review of literature properly, and you have developed a research gap, and you have submitted a okay, this is a research gap which you have fulfilled. Then later on, after that, you see the book is already there, and whatever I'm doing, whatever the suggestions I'm giving, this has already been given by ABC scholar, and ABC scholar can ask you how you can give this, because this has already been done by me. So you need to truly conduct a review of the literature, and this is an error which we conduct while preparing our synopsis. And we too commit another error while a failure to define the assumption in designing the research plan. Many errors we commit in designing the research plan, because once your research design is prepared, and you have to be very, very clear as far as designing, we fail to define the proposition, the problem which we have identified. Many times we commit many errors to define the problem which we have identified. So we have to, reason being, we have to give identification of problem maybe in one page or maybe in 2 pages, but we have to touch each and every aspect of the problem which we have identified. Sometimes, as far as methodology is concerned, we go ahead for methodology, and we, for the sampling purposes, the techniques which we use for purpose of collection of the sample, for the collection of the data, the sampling technique which we need to follow is not clearly outlined. We generally do not outline the technique of the sampling, that which method is required and why this method is required, because there are many methods for the sampling. Why A method, B method, C method is required as far as your proposition is concerned. And we also commit many errors, like as far as plan, for the distribution of the result, expected results, as far as your hypothesis is concerned, when the goals which we have laid on for our research, even though we have not laid on, we do not lay down proper goals also. There are many mistakes generally. But I feel, being a student of research, that we commit many mistakes. But quickly, taking 5-7 minutes, I say there are different problems which a researcher face, and I need to highlight these. That difficulties which a researcher feel is as far as analysis of the data, because the same data is analyzed by the different people. For example, I analyze the data by my own perception. You are a student of law and economics, you analyze the data from a different, because once the different tools are used, quite possible I analyze the data in a different way. And once different way, certainly different results will come. So for the same topic, same data, the different results are coming because of adopting the different techniques for analysis. There are many obstacles of technology also. There are erroneous obstacles by the latest technology, because today, for the same data, I have used one technical tool in order to interpret the data, in order to analyze the data. After 6 months, 3 months, a different tool, different technology has come into, and if you give and you put that data, the same data, to the other technology, the results will be different. That's again an obstacle. And as far as the difficulty which I feel the researcher again face, that when you collect the data by way of questionnaire, by way of whatever the tools, the response rate is very, very less. The response rate of the questions or the questionnaire or the schedule or whatever is very less. Generally, if you submit, maybe now by way of Google form or whatever is, generally I feel 10 to 15% is the response rate, which is very, very less. Because there is a variety of samples available to the researcher. And once there is a variety of samples, I adopt A sample, you adopt B sample, third will adopt the D sample. And certainly at the end of this same, as I told you, the same data and by different techniques of sampling will lead us to the different directions. And sometimes there is a mismatch between the research question and the research method. Your search question, it requires questionnaire way of data collection, but you have adopted a schedule. Your research question requires open-ended questions, but you have adopted closed questions. Again, there is mismatch. That is again another obstacle, other problem. And misunderstanding the difference between qualitative and quantitative research is again another. Sometimes the subject matter is very complex, which you have taken up. Subject matter is such a complex, it is very difficult to reach to the subject matter. Your subject matter, but this very excitingly, very enthusiastically, you have opted a subject matter. It may be persons are the subject matter. It may be the legal proposition is the subject matter. Once you have taken the persons as a subject matter, they are the criminals, they are hardcore criminals. It is very difficult to reach to your subject matters. Or there is very complexity in order to reach to your subject matter. It may be biological subject matter or another subject matter. But a lot of human problems are there. There are some issues of religion, issues of secularism, the issues of faith. For example, you are conducting a research on the on the ground of or maybe touching upon the issues of the secularism. And certainly we are so fanatic. Maybe we are Hindu, Muslim, Christian, so on. So we are so much fundamentalist and fanatics. And sometimes such fanaticism of any of the religion, it again create a problem for your research. And there are difficulties of accurate measurements, difficulties in order to using the experimental hypothesis. Sometimes it is difficult in making the accuracy in the predictions. Sometimes issues are regarding of like which method, which type of sample is to be followed. And for this, we do not, being either we are conducting a social science research or maybe the legal science research. Yes, we have a legal search methodology at LLM. We may have a legal search methodology as one subject in your pre-PhD coursework, but we are not scientifically, technologically, or by different ways of the softwares, we are not trained as far as the methodology of the legal research is concerned. We do not have a scientific training as far as analysis of the data is concerned. We always, when we collect the data, we go to the computer expert. We ask the computer expert that we want a tabulation form, we want this chart, we want that chart. So sometimes the computer expert, there is a communication gap in between you and the expert on the computer. You say something different, he produces something different. And that is a communication gap. Communication gap may be in between you and the expert. It may be in between you and your subject matter, your respondent also. It may be you and your supervisor also. There may be a communication gap. And there are chances of misuse of data also. That is, you are always worried over this. And it happens so that you have collected the data you have collected the data and your data is stolen because you are not scientifically trained enough that how to store, where to store, when to transfer, when to put into your USB or whatever is. So there are many chances. This is again this problem which many times the researchers feel that the outsider, the computer expert is tabulating your data. And once you have taken the data back in your pen drive, one copy remains there. That copy can be used by anyone. So these are some of the errors what I feel is about inadequate information also. We ask to the government to provide the information. The government have the older data also. We get very inadequate information and on the best of the inadequate. So whatever the information we get from the different resources, primary information which we are getting from the primary sources, from the government websites, even that information is not given properly. And accordingly, we construct our theory, we construct our research on inadequacy information. And then accordingly, we develop our theory, which later on get proved wrong. So that is why we do not have uniform code of conduct as far as the research is concerned. Every university, they are making a uniform code of, they have their own code of conduct as far as the research is concerned. In my university, where I'm a student, we do have our own code of conduct. A university have different, B university have different. Even as far as following the footnote styles, as far as in all the law universities, they have different styles. In some of the university, they say blue book is to be adopted, MLA handbook is to be adopted, Indian institutions methodology is to be used. So we do not have a uniform code of conduct even for the purpose of research. So that is the reason that sometimes we fail to come to the really concluding remarks. There are problems like library managements. Whenever you just go, if you just see the catalog says that this book of number so and so is on this and this shelf. But ultimately, when you go there, you will not find out the book, where the book has gone. Quite possible some of your next friend has took the book and kept the book somewhere else, because reason being that is required for him. So we do not get good. I mean, the library in most of the universities, most of the colleges, the library is not well managed, and we do not get sufficient literature to review. And there is also a difficulty in timely getting the published data. You just see government websites are there and they are supposed to publish their data, they are supposed to put on the website. We are not getting this. So sometimes we get wrong, incorrect, inadequate data. And when I say other thing, even if I have JRF, then I have good financial resources. But if I just only have qualified the test, I don't have financial resources. So sometimes that become money. Financial assistance is also a problem for a student, a researcher, because due to the financial restraints, we cannot proceed with our research. So there are many other issues which need to be deliberated as far as the weaknesses, the errors, the problem which the researcher feel like for collection of the data. And I suppose you all know this thing and you must have experienced all the things. So with these words, I think that was just a bit overview about the research methodology. And it's not in detail, but whatever the little I'm being a student of research, whatever the little I was thinking over to share with you. So these are my observations. So probably these are my personal observation, but I feel quite possible the errors or the weaknesses which I feel you may not have been facing this. But at many platforms I've interacted with the students, they are facing this. So these are my some personal observations. So with these words, thank you very much. God bless you and enjoy your discourse, please. Thank you.
Dear participants, if you have any query, you can unmute by one and post your questions to sir.
Sir, I have a question. If you could just kindly answer.
Sure, please, sure.
Yes, sir. Sir, So there are different types of researches. As you said, that researches can be differentiated on the basis of application, objective, and inquiry.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, research can also be classified as doctrinal or empirical.
Yeah.
So, sir, is there any relation between, like, how can you draw a relation between these two different broad, classifications? Like, can there be overlapping? Is there any overlapping, like a doctoral
Yes.
research?
Why not? Why it can be? It can be. Because reason being, once you talk about because this is for the convenience of the student, we are classifying that it's just not a classification that we are putting into the watertight departments, like compartments. Even though when you conduct an empirical research, actually you need to examine many documents also. And whenever any empirical research is conducted, this is both the ways also. This is doctrinal as well as empirical. So there are interconnections in between both. We cannot say that empirical research is exclusive because it always have a base. And the base is to be found out from the documents. So it means you need to take the help as resources for maybe primary documents, primary resources, books, magazines, journals, and so on and so on. So it means they have a correlation. Even when you talk about qualitative and quantitative, this is for the reason of being a student of research methodology, we need to make a classification. Just telling you these are the different types. But each and every research have its correlation. You talk about historical research and with analytical research. There are correlation with historical and analytical research. You try to find out an historical document and make an analysis of this. So historical research and have a relation with analytical research. Similarly, exploratory and descriptive research, they have the relation. So it means there are a lot of correlation with each research. It's just not only that you are to put in water type compartments.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. I have another question.
Yeah, sure, please.
Sir, so like after reading several research methodology books, like I was really confused that there is a lot of inconsistency between the thoughts of various authors.
Yeah,
Says,
definitely.
few says that in the method of research, first you need to do the literature review. Some say that you need to
Yes, at the end of this.
the question first, and it leads to a lot of confusion, especially in MCQs. So, is there any method of getting through it, like, or
Because while talking over the different errors, I told you there is no any uniformity. Every institution, every university have their own codes, having their own methods. Like for example, in Panjab University, they feel that this review in your research design, the review of literature is to be given at the end. But I have joined this university just 5-6 years before, and I put my thought up. I see no, until and unless you don't review the literature, then how you can proceed further. So review of the literature should come immediately after you have identified the problem. So as far as you say, do we have a precise methodology by which we can give our ideas that what do we follow? So I suggest you is to must read MLA Handbook of Research, probably that is followed by many of the universities, and even in the UGC test, which is conducted every year, whenever they ask some questions on research methodology, the basis for them is, I think, MLA Handbook.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Please. Thank you.
I would like to add something. Am I audible?
Yeah, sure, please, sure.
The person who asked you a question, there is nothing as a conflict. Everybody has got a different approach to research, and that freedom to research is always there.
Yes, madam, yes.
Right. So please don't try to bind researchers. And people who write have got different options, different views. What we need to do is appreciate every and see what is best for us.
Yes.
Sir, there is one more question. What would be the first step a researcher should follow while identifying the methodology?
Identifying the methodology, meaning thereby that which method in order to proceed with the research he or she is to follow. So it all depends, ma'am. I told you earlier that if, for example, this is empirical research, right? You have to find out that what are your subject matter. For example, my universe is, let it be one state is my universe. And accordingly, it's not the population or the subject matter of the universe is totally, or subject matter which I've taken up from the universe is totally scattered. So then on the basis of, I have to see whether they are clusters in different parts or whether they are individually established in a different part of the state, because I need to find out where my respondent is. If my respondent is in two districts at the center of Gujarat, if my respondent is on the border of Pakistan, if my respondent is in different clusters of the this Gujarat, if my respondent is scattered whole of this Rajasthan, then accordingly for all the three parameters, I need to follow a different type of technology, different type of methodology. Now, for example, I say my respondents are in 5 clusters of Rajasthan. Then immediately have to find out that out of the 5 cluster, in each cluster, what is the total strength of my respondent? I say in each cluster there are 5,000. And 5,000 means 5,000 in 4 parts. It means this is about 16,000, sorry, my respondents. It's not possible for me to conduct the research on the 16,000. Again, I have to bifurcate the clusters. Each cluster is to be further divided into 4 parts, 5 parts, 6 parts. Equally, each cluster is to be divided into, for example, 4 parts. I had divided A cluster in 4 parts, B cluster in 4 parts, C cluster in 4 parts. Similarly, D cluster in 4 parts. Then I need to take one cluster from that 4 parts. So then it means from 4,000, I have come to 1,000. So it means 4,000 is my respondent. If further I say 4,000 or more, then again the point, the cluster which I have taken, that's 1,000, I need to divide again the 1,000 into maybe 3 into maybe 2. If this is 2, then okay, divide this part into 2 and take 1 from each cluster. So it all depends on whether this is in different clusters, whether this is in states, whether they are universally in everywhere, in every district, in every area, they are scattered like anything. Then I have to divide this state of Gujarat in such a way so that my respondents are getting the equal representation in the sample. It's a variable concept, ma'am. I hope I'm clear.
Thank you, sir.
Please, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, please.
Just a minute, sir. There's somebody who is going to give you your vote of thanks, please.
Oh, please. Thank you.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, please.
Hello. Yeah, I, Nikita Kalia, on behalf of Gujarat National Law University and the entire 2020 batch of PhD, and on my own behalf, extend a very hearty gratitude to our distinguished speaker, Professor Rattan Singh, for gracing your important work and sharing with us your knowledge and opinions today. So far in this session, we have learned the relevance and importance of research from point of view of its historical background, literature review, literature gap, hypothesis construction, where Sir agrees that it is very necessary to construct a hypothesis, methodology, sampling, and the classification of research basis its application, objectivity, and inquiry. Also, we have been educated about how the legal research is different from other disciplines, where the empiricity is crucial and there's dynamicity in the world. So thank you once again, sir, for such an insightful session. And thanks you all the participants for attending this session and making it a great success. Thank you.
Thank you very much, please. A good day and enjoy your course. Thank you very much.
Professor Rattan Singh?
Please, sir.
Professor Rattan Singh?
Sure.
A very, very big thank you from my side personally and from Professor Shantakumar.
Please, so nice. Will you pay my respects to Professor Shantakumar, please?
Yeah, he was to be there, but he has got some emergency meetings. So because of that, he's not there. But it's always a pleasure to have you.
Please.
And
Please, ma'am,
having
please.
you as a member and a family member of GNLU, we are very proud of you.
Ma'am, absolutely, ma'am. This is my pleasure, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am.